Hello and welcome to A Star to Steer Her By, a Star Trek podcast. My name is Caitlin, and with me today are...
Jake.
Chris.
And Ames.
And we're here for episode 143?
Whoa!
Wow, dude. To discuss the Star Trek The Next Generation film First Contact, which is the second of 4 films in a series.
The TNG series.
The TNG series. In First Contact, well, I gotta think about it. I've seen it twice. Hey, directed by Jonathan Frakes, who then went on to make some really stupid acting choices for himself, but I guess that's what happens when you don't fucking self-edit, isn't it, Frakes?
Aw,
Right,
I like Frakes.
Listen, I'd bang him, it's fine.
At least
I'm
he has
sure
something
he
to do in this movie, you know?
Oh, yeah,
Unlike
bit.
the women? Sorry, Caitlin.
The women!
Oh, God. What was it? The phasers! What was it? Something...
Ready phasers.
Ready phasers! Okay, so in this film, Picard's hearing voices, and surprise, surprise, it's the Borg.
Q.
And
No, Borg. You're
I
right.
wish.
You're right.
I wish it was
The
Q.
Borg
Not really. I
are
don't know.
back, and there's gonna be some trouble. Resistance is futile.
Yeah, fine. All right, we obviously this is improv. Okay, so the Borg are back, and there's gonna be some trouble. And instead of sending the Enterprise to Earth to face that shit head on, Admiral whoever the F is like, why don't you go hang out in the neutral zone and make sure the Romulans don't cause any trouble.
Totally should have been the Chev. I would have bought that.
I was really hoping it was going to be the Chev.
I'd be like, yeah.
He'd be like,
you would do that.
He'd be like, you want some
waiting for
canapes?
Yes.
Here's some canapes. So, while they're patrolling and Picard is not pleased and is being sassy about all the bullshit they've observed since they got there,
Sassy.
they get a call, and guess what? The Borg are fucking killing everybody. Oops. So Picard's like, hey guys, fuck these orders, am I right? And Data's like, I think I speak for all of us when I say, fuck yeah. And they go...
that would have been a better
yum,
line.
Yum.
That fucking line.
What is that from again?
Discovery.
I don't remember.
The
It's
girl
terrible.
with the mouth clavicles says it.
Oh yeah. So anyway, so they go and they get there, and Picard uses his super Borg powers and is like, okay, everybody who's not dead, focus all your firepower on this one place, on the Borg cube. And they do, and the Borg and the Borg cube shits out a sphere that travels through time back to April 4th, 2063. 2063. And the Enterprise is like, well, let's follow it. And they do. And they're like, April 4th, 2063. Oh no, they're here to disrupt First Contact. We have to stop them. Because April 5th, 2063 is the day that Zephram Cochrane makes his first warp flight and attracts the attention of the Vulcans, thus heralding humans into a peaceful future with, post-scarcity and warp and stuff.
And the Vulcans still regret it to this day.
Oh, almost certainly.
Well,
The
we've
fourth?
really
I think
subjugated
it might
them
be
as a
the
people.
fourth. I think the Borg traveled back like a day or two earlier.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
I think that's how I
You might
wrote
be
this
right.
down.
Okay.
No,
But
the
now I'm questioning my own notes.
The fifth is First Contact.
Okay,
Yeah,
the
fifth is first.
Got it.
Yeah.
Don't worry, these nerds got us
Yeah,
covered.
the
Thank you.
whole movie takes place over the course of like 12 hours.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it's pretty quick.
So, the Borg show up and start shooting shit, and Enterprise is like, oh no. So they beam down, and they're on this search to find Zephram Cochrane, because they know that, they need him to initiate First Contact, or else, the
Be
future...
alive.
Yeah,
Maybe.
or else the future, as they know it, will be just completely borked. And...
Or Borged.
Borged, much better. And, come to find out, the heroic Zephram Cochrane is, a belligerent drunk who, loves drinking and hates people.
Dancing. He dances.
He does, he dances.
Quite a lot.
He likes jukebox tunes and,
And-
getting Marina Sirtis drunk.
And feeling her up.
He even Fonzie's a jukebox.
He does.
Which is
It's pretty impressive. It's amazing to think that, well, I guess it's not that far-fetched, right? Because it's 2019 now, and there are still jukeboxes, so it is feasible to me that jukeboxes will still be around in 2063.
I mean, it's
Anyway,
also,
you're
it's
still
also
in- you're still in
2063
Act
after
One.
a
Let's
global
keep going.
war.
Oh, okay, so we're
There's
still
a
in
lot of
Act One.
movie. There's a lot of movie here.
So the Borg, everybody starts complaining that the ship is hot, and it turns out the Borg have set up
heat.
shop in deck like 16 or something. No, they go up to 16 and stop. Am I right? 16? Near engineering,
No,
right?
That's where they start.
That's where they start? Oh, they stop at 11.
They stop at 11 because that's deflector control.
Gotcha. Nailed it.
This
Okay.
amp goes to 11.
I'm honestly just... is it louder than 10?
It's one louder.
I'm amazed I'm remembering any of these numbers. So yeah, the Borg set up shop, and Picard's like, uh-oh, Borg. And so... Gosh, it starts to get fuzzy here, guys. I know that, like, some
comes the
people
Borg.
stay on the planet to deal with Zephram Cochrane, played by the inimitable James Cromwell, and oh gosh, so they find the ship, they find the Phoenix, which is Zephram Cochrane's ship, and they wind up like happening upon Zephram's girlfriend Lily,
Assistant.
who's whatever.
Awesome.
And she has some like radiation poisoning.
Oh, that's what she had.
So
I was
Yep.
wondering why they had to figure to sick bay.
So they beam her up, and
I thought she just passed out in general.
yeah, no,
Data was nearby. Oh,
We're well in the yellow, by the way. We got to move this along.
it's a
No,
movie.
this is
Movies
a
are double
movie.
long.
So anyway, I'm sorry, double long. Anyway, so so she gets beamed up, and they have to like wake her up and move her because they're like having all kinds of systems failure and the Borgs and all this stuff, and they manage to, they being the Enterprise crew, they're like, all right, we've got some guns, let's go check this out, fuck up some Borgs, led by Picard and Worf and Data. Data turns off his emotion chip for this, which is important. It's important.
This is not an important detail!
It's very important.
It's a hot detail.
It's a hot detail. So anyway, a fight breaks out between the Borg and the human beings, and Data gets captured, and Picard's like, oh no, Data, they took my data.
We have successfully discussed the third scene of the movie.
The Borg try to take over the ship. Picard stops them on Earth. They finish the Phoenix and have the warp flight. The end.
You missed the beautiful sex scene, Chris.
We can talk
the
about
really
that in
super
detail
hot sex scene.
during the discussion.
I watched it so many times this week.
Oh my.
Wow. Well, anyway, that's about right. That's what happens.
Man. Chris just...
Sorry, it was just taking so long.
Chris just manned all over your side.
I apologize, but my God, it was taking
There's
entirely too
testosterone
long.
all over the table. It's disgusting and sticky.
Double long.
Is that what
That's
that
why.
is?
Yes.
Anyway,
Well,
Jake has
everything I said also happened.
It
God
did.
damn
This is
it.
very true.
It was just, yeah. I agree, though. It was,
I know I was
it was
dragging.
taking some time.
I apologize.
That's okay.
The thing is, I didn't realize, like, usually what happens is, sorry to take more time, but if I know that I'm the one who's discussing, I'll, like, do a run-through with Chris on my way here. So imagine, this is how that shit usually starts. Like, the really horrible version you usually get is still the second try.
No, you're usually pretty good. This was, this one just, yeah.
I feel like on the first try we get more sass though, and I love the sass.
I think we got
Thank
mired.
you.
I think there was a miring.
I was just trying to remember the details. There's just too many details.
That's right.
That's why I take notes.
A lot of shit happens
Again,
with
short
notes.
version.
Jesus.
Borg on the ship.
Borg on board.
Fix the
No, that's
Phoenix.
good.
Get to space.
Is that like Charles in
Vulcans.
charge?
Mm-hmm.
Disintegrate the Borg Queen.
Borg
Borg
Queen
Queen
exists. Fucks Data.
Trying to get stuff out of Data.
Data gets his...
Gives Data weird...
Do you think
skin-gasms.
they grafted skin onto his wiener?
Yeah.
I said that
No,
when
absolutely.
we were watching.
I have that same note. They totally gave him a human dick.
Yeah.
And they had
And
so much
whose dick
beautiful
was
love.
it? Like, that's the thing.
That
I
dead
wanna know-
guy that Picard
Like,
puts
he
down
noticed that he had
Lynch
the-
and rips the neuron thing
Did you
out
notice
of...
that he had a blue eye? Like like his eye on the skin part was blue, so they clearly just ripped some poor bastard's eye out and gave it to Data.
Well, pretty much everybody lost at least one
That's
eye,
true. They
so-
always take off an eye and replace it with some kind of
Which,
contraption.
like, how... It's okay, so I know that, like, the idea of the Borg is that they're, like, improving upon... Have you seen some of the shit they do? You pointed this out. There was one person who'd had their fucking arm removed to have a teeny tiny little arm with little
Like
tiny
that.
little fucking fork fingers.
But if you need somebody who's got
Maybe
the fork
he's giving
fingers
hand
for
jobs to
something,
people with really small penises, okay? Maybe
I don't know. I think Jonathan Frakes does his own work. Holy.
Oh boy.
But yeah, no, clearly that's for like very fine mechanical work.
Yeah,
But-
like every single one of them is practical more than anything.
I mean,
bet the Vulcans
the
love
other thing
them.
about the Borg too, though, is that like
They love Nazis.
even though they seem like they would be really like I feel like the Borg should be more Cybermen like in appearance, right?
More uniform.
Yeah, because they're more like just whatever was lying around. Kinda.
Yeah, they look like they're cobbled together of garbage. It's like that's not a.
The Borg aren't they supposed to be?
Well, that's the thing, though. You think if they would
They're
have,
supposed to be perfection,
but they look like shit. They don't look very efficient.
It doesn't matter what they look like. The point is that they do the things you need them to do.
Well, that's true. I guess as a drone,
They don't believe in,
you are
bodily
specifically
perfection.
designed for your one function.
Okay, that's fair.
Somewhere out there, there's a Borg with a plunger for a
But
hand.
whose
who's
fucking
just to
idea
deal
was
with
it
the
to
toilets.
put all these hoses on that, like, if you pull one, you die? Or
Seriously, that should just be how you deal with every Borg. Is just
rip
get
the
near
hose
them,
out.
yeah, because they look like they get snagged on shit super easy.
You
I don't know.
or
Guns
Tommy
seem.
gun.
I was gonna say guns seem to work pretty well. Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Ratless.
Holographic guns, even.
The-
There is
the
one thing I
safety
wanted to.
were off.
There's one thing that I really wanted to draw your attention to. So, as we know,
Jake, put your penis away.
I know, right?
Two of 'em.
So first contact that I don't know if they actually say it. I think they say it in the movie. I don't know if they might not. It might have just been established in other canon, but the specific town in Montana is Bozeman, Montana.
Yep.
Which is the hometown of Brandon Braga, who is producers.
That I did not know.
That's
Why it is. But it's also the namesake of one of our favorite ships in Star Trek, the USS
Excelsior.
Bozeman.
Oh, right, yes.
Which, as we know from Star Trek Next Generation Cause and Effect, is captained by none other than Captain Morgan Bateson, played by Kelsey Grammer.
See, this is even longer than
This is a setup. This is a setup to a thing.
He's like, no, this is good.
This is set up to a thing. So anyway, there's a point during the battle when they're listening in on the Federation communications, and you hear someone like Bozeman or something,
Yeah.
like that, and then there's an acknowledgement. Now, I had always heard rumors that they actually got Kelsey Grammer to record the
Oh,
acknowledgement.
no way.
And
I didn't hear these rumors, and I read 3 different
I'd
books on
always
this.
heard this rumor mostly on like forums and stuff.
Mm.
But anyway, so I wanted to set it. I wanted to make it. I wanted to settle it once and for all. I apologize, audience. You won't be able to see this, but hopefully you can hear it. I turned the
Watch the
volume all
movie.
the way.
Watch the fucking movie, everyone.
But we will see. So this is the scene right here. Just hit play.
Starfleet frequency 148.
See if you can identify the voice.
Sir.
Stand by to engage at grid A15.
Science and Bozeman, fall back to mobile position 1.
Hey, baby, I hear the blues are calling.
I knew that's what you were going to have done. Yes. You know what it is, Jake? I almost asked you. I almost said, did you just splice in? And you would have fucking shot me. Jake would have actually killed me.
We would never see Caitlin again. It's so perfect watching with the video, too.
It really lines up nicely.
Now, is this your own video, Jake? Or is this something you found?
No, I made this.
We should share it. It's
Jake,
amazing.
I love you.
Fraser has left the building.
Okay, you timed that perfectly.
Of course he did. He's a fucking professional.
Also, here's one thing that always kind of, like, just really did my nut in about that scene.
I'm sorry, what?
That sort of older, like, blue shirt that's at one of the consoles, I swear must have been Cromwell's stand-in, because he looks enough like him that it's
maybe
like...
they just got. Well, yeah, they often will do that type of thing.
Yeah, because it just,
I don't need the computer.
It always distracted me, because I feel like he just looks so much like him.
I'm so glad I didn't say it, because I almost said...
You almost ruined another joke.
Another joke. I literally
God.
almost said, is this going to be... Oh,
See,
I'm
I'm
really
going to
glad
admit,
I didn't.
I was thinking maybe you were just going to splice in a quick little, I'm listening. So that was...
But now, to be totally honest, though, it is, I'm pretty sure, there is an acknowledgement, and I am pretty sure it is Kelsey Grammer.
I'm sure they would have, I'm sure I would have found that somewhere on Memory Alpha.
Well, I would suggest finding the actual clip and listening to it.
That's right. When you said you were going to bring up a
So
clip out,
good.
for a second, I was like, why don't you just bring up the movie itself? Because I'm dumb. I didn't see where this was going yet.
No, but you sort of did. You had an innate sense that there was tomfoolery about... That was beautiful, Jake. Thank you.
Yes, that was lovely. So, starting, I guess, from...
The Enterprise E.
the top.
Oh. The Enterprise E.
I mean, that is towards the beginning.
Where on your list does the Enterprise E fall?
I'm not gonna lie, I don't remember exactly, but it's pretty high up.
It's nice.
It's one of
I
my
like it.
preferred ones.
You think they fixed the Galaxy class with this thing?
I mean, it's definitely better than the Galaxy class.
It's
You know,
no Constitution refit.
No, that's still...
That's the cream of the crop.
I quite like the Discovery tweak of the Constitution.
That's just because they took elements from the...
They took
from
the stuff
refit,
I like from the refit and put it on the original, exactly.
Which was
means-
basically the Phase 2 Enterprise. Have you seen
Yeah.
the
Actually,
image of the
essentially
Phase 2
is, yeah.
Enterprise?
Yeah, no, I'm quite fond of the Sovereign class. Its deflector dish is less hideous. It's more in proportion. It looks better from more angles.
Love it or hate it, it's still an obsession. Love it or hate it, that is the question. If you love me, then
Thank you!
so sovereigns.
Yeah, no, I quite like it. I also like the black accent marks
Yeah.
on the...
You know what I like is how they also didn't overkill the introduction of it, like they
Yeah.
did in, say, the motion picture with the 5.5 minute glory shot.
Yeah, no, there's...
What are you talking about? That was totally necessary and awesome.
I will
it
say...
just flies in and you're like, oh, there it is.
I will say me getting a nice screenshot of it for my article a real pain in the ass. But yes, no, they don't overeat the pudding. It's a very delightful ship. I like
they're not constantly like, oh man, we're on the Enterprise E now.
E stands for Excelsior.
I thought it stood for ejaculate.
And then you've got the ships at the battle.
Borg cube.
Because obviously they had the ship design in house. It was probably John Eves, but don't quote me.
I read it all. I all go in one ear out the other.
Yeah, so it was like their main guys been designing their ships for fucking a dog's age, I think. But then all the other ones, they went to ILM, who did the special effects, and said, all right, here's what the Enterprise is going to look like. Make some more ships for us.
Yeah, just don't make them all look identical.
Yeah, so ILM threw together, like, okay, shit. So they came up with the Akira class, which I absolutely adore.
I looked at them all. I didn't actually end up, like, it didn't sink in. And it was the Norway class.
Norway class, the Steam Runner class, which is really weird looking. But they're all just lovely, little funny ships. Also, very blurry in the background, there's the Millennium Falcon.
Yep, I saw a screenshot of that. I didn't see it in the actual movie, but I heard that it's there.
There's also one thing that I always, even when I was a kid watching this movie, that I always noticed is that there are ships that don't get away from the explosion. They just get swallowed up and destroyed when the Borg cube goes up. It's like, whoops.
And of course, the Defiant is there. There's a couple of Miranda classes. I don't think there's an Excelsior class, or if there is, I didn't notice it.
All the Obersts are on fire.
So thanks for mentioning the Defiant, right? So the Defiant is a ship that we haven't seen because we're not watching in chronological order.
Right.
Yeah, we're watching in series order.
Yeah, but so the Defiant is a ship that is established on Deep Space Nine, and that is why Worf is on it.
And Worf is on DS9 by this point, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. I know Voyager is in like season 3 at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you got those two going on at the same time that you've also got this movie coming out.
But yeah, they sent the Defiant, but only sent Worf from the regular cast, and special guest star Adam Scott.
Yeah, who was not a star at this time.
No.
He was just a...
It's one of those things that in retrospect, you're like, it's that guy from not The Office, the
Parks
other
and
one.
Rec.
Parks and Rec.
Yeah. But it's cool because he plays like a super nerd on Parks and Rec.
It's perfect.
And it would make sense that he would be in Star Trek.
Yeah. I remember they actually considered... Because I had a book that was like all kinds of concept art from Generations and First Contact. It might have actually even gone as far as Insurrection, but don't quote me. But they also considered...
But I tore those parts out.
They considered having like a huge, instead of a Borg cube, having a big fuck off like Borg, kind of an obelisk shape almost.
What is an obelisk shaped like?
A penis.
Like the Washington Monument, but theirs was gonna have like a
a penis. Yeah, the Washington Monument.
From what I recall, the pictures, like it was a little wider, and the top was flat. Like it started to go up towards the point, then the top was flat, and then the bottom also was kind of like indented and flat. And
it had two, instead of the Borg sphere coming out, there were two Borg spheres at the base of it.
Accurate.
Obviously, that didn't happen. They initially, so for years there had been sort of because before they made First Contact, there was the Star Trek chronology, which I think I owned, and that was printed sometime, I think, I'm not even sure if TNG was over when the first edition came out. but it covered, it had information from all the episodes and kind of filled in some stuff. But they had some, mock-ups of various ships that had been discussed but never seen. So this is where, the Daedalus class comes from originally. Because it had been mentioned but never shown. And they also had Cochrane's warp ship, which they didn't give a name to because the time didn't have one. And because it had come from, sort of a semi-official source, these were effectively pseudo-canonical until this movie came out. But they originally actually did try to design the Phoenix to look like the warp ship that they'd come up with for the Star Trek chronology. But they just couldn't make the design they'd come up with work within the framework of, he built it out of a nuclear missile.
Yeah.
Which is probably for the best, because the warp ship they designed was a little too fancy.
Cool. So this movie, huh?
Yeah, sorry.
Movie.
That was a lengthy aesthetics tangent.
Well, it's a good thing you guys cut me off from my intro, because that was...
I know, we just spent the next 20 minutes watching comedy video and talking about the
I'm also kidding, I don't really mind. I was taking too long, and I was grateful to be saved.
It won't stop the hate mail we're going to get.
I know.
From
Chris can do some editing.
That's fair.
Make a blooper reel of all that you just said.
So this is the first of... so yes, Worf is now established as a regular cast member on Deep Space Nine, but you can't have a Next Generation movie without Worf.
Mm-hmm.
So this time I feel like they have a pretty good excuse to get him on board. It's like his ship gets blowed up.
Mm-hmm.
Although, Worf, we could use some help at tactical. It's like, what about the guy that was running tactical until Worf got here?
I mean, have you met him?
Yeah.
Yep, accurate. I
Did
think that was
he
the
just get
cutscene.
fired?
He got Borged, maybe.
Maybe. So yeah. So there's a reasonable excuse to getting Worf involved.
And Borg involved.
But
they're
of
great.
course, we know that there's 2 more films in this series, so it'll be interesting, I think, to see why Worf is there.
Worf is on vacation this week, so he wanted to hang out with Data.
We'll see. But from what I recall, in Nemesis it actually makes sense. But I think in Insurrection it is super contrived.
Well, we're going to see that next week.
Yeah. Anyway, this
But
movie.
thank you for teasing us, Jake.
I don't know. I just think it's
With
funny.
your
I just think it's funny that,
teasing.
yes, you have to get the cast member involved, even though there's no real reason for him to be there.
No, because if he hadn't been there, maybe they could have given more to Bev or Troy to do.
Oh yeah, that's my major complaint with this movie, because otherwise, I fucking love this movie. I think, and I have to think about this more because I haven't thought about it enough. I think it might be my favorite of the Star Trek movies. Period.
Like, the original 10.
If we're not counting Galaxy Quest,
we're not.
because Galaxy Quest is perfection.
I don't know if it's my
But it's also not
but I
Star
do.
Trek.
No, it's got all the things I really like. The big if things I like were a pie chart, it's got
Brent
this
Spiner.
giant wedge that is Data. It's got this giant wedge over here that is Borg, and it's got this giant wedge over here that is time travel done fucking right. But what it doesn't have is all of the characters doing something. Like, in Voyage Home. Voyage Home, every single character had a nice thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
Sulu's was cut a little bit, but that's fine.
And they knocked Walter out for his, so that was perfect.
So I don't know.
But here,
if
it's less even.
So speaking of time travel, I originally read that I have read that the original plot pitch for this movie was that when they got to Earth, basically in the past, they would discover that Zephram Cochrane had been killed in the attack.
Was unconscious.
Well, that Picard himself would have to make the Phoenix flight.
Yeah.
I'm kind of glad they didn't do that.
Yeah, I saw that too, and I think the major thing that they realized was if you've got the Borg up there in the sky, and Picard used to be a Borg, you want to put the 2 together. It wouldn't serve either of them well to have them be apart from each other. Even though Picard being Zephram Cochrane is fun, it's also better to make Zephram Cochrane a character, which was really great. I really like James Cromwell.
Yeah, he did a good job.
He did a great job, yeah.
And I think, it was good casting. Because I remember, I think we've talked about this before, they wanted Tom Hanks.
That would have been.
You said they wanted
that
Tom
would not
Hanks?
have fit.
You know what Tom Hanks was doing at the time?
Wait. That thing you do.
Yes, he was directing that thing.
You doing that thing.
Tom Hanks
no.
is a good actor, don't get me wrong. And he's even done sort of a surly drunk before with the coach from A League of Their Own. But it just would have been too distracting.
I think
it would have been
agree.
like, hey, it's Tom Hanks in a Star Trek movie.
Yeah. James Cromwell was a good choice. I think, at the time he wasn't a super well-known
No,
actor.
he was super well known. He had just won something for Babe.
Oh, he was in Babe. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
But even
He
then,
was
I feel
super
like
big from Babe.
I don't feel like he was as recognizable then as he is now. is what I'm
he's
saying.
definitely.
Well, that's true, but-
He was definitely like the epitome of that guy.
Yeah.
For like, I think it really is only in the last maybe 10 years that people reliably know who he is.
Mm.
Like, even despite Babe, like, people are like, oh yeah, that guy
It's the
from Babe.
farmer. Yeah.
But,
He's amazing in 6 Feet.
Yeah, he does a good job in 6 Feet Under.
yeah, no, he's a great, versatile, like, the epitome of a character actor. And again, we've seen him several times on Trek already at this point,
But-
under varying levels of makeup.
Considerably older than the last time we saw Zephram Cochrane.
Well, to be fair, the cloud being that wanted to fuck him wanted to make him more fuckable.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, he'd been de-aged slightly.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I loved one of his one of his lines was like, I want to go like hang on a desert island somewhere. I'm like, well, we can't get you a nice remote like tropical island, but we can get you this planet where you'll be the only person there and this cloud wants to fuck you. Does that work?
He would probably be super into that, to be fair.
What I love in that scene is like when he's like, I want to be on a tropical island full of naked women. And he's all embarrassed. Like, no, don't worry, Zeph. This is the one member of the Enterprise crew who's one of two, who's one of three, who would be like, yeah.
Well,
the other two being Geordi and Barclay.
I would say that
Riker.
given what we've seen
Riker
of
That's what I mean,
of
because he's talking to
sexuality in the 24th century, I think everyone would be like, yeah, that sounds like a good thing. I don't think anybody is super bashful about,
not
about
that, but I mean
nudity.
No, not that, but just Riker, I feel like, would be very into it.
Also, you'd think that would be like Riker could be like, hey, if you're feeling nervous about this thing, once you get this warp thing perfected, let me tell you about Risa.
You
Chris,
said.
did I?
You did.
Next stop, Risa?
You said when Riker was grinning, you said, let me tell you about a little place called Risa.
Good for me.
Here, borrow this Horgon. You stick it up your butt.
Oh, no.
Anyway, I'm just going to start by talking about what the original pitch for this movie was. So they give Braga and Moore a movie, and they say, okay, we're going to do another one. And Berman says to them, here's what I want. I want to do time travel. And they're like, but we want to do the Borg. And they're like, what if...
Porque no los dos.
Stick them in a blender and come out with this. And originally they wanted to put it in the Renaissance, and they would have the Borg go back in time and try to prevent the Renaissance from happening.
And they would run into Da Vinci.
They would. Data would become Leonardo da Vinci's apprentice. Which sounds incredibly idiotic, and I'm glad they didn't go there.
Wow, my soul.
They could have got him. They could have had him played by the same guy that played Sam Clemens.
But he's just playing him as Sam Clemens. I'm Leonardo da Vinci!
I got this flying machine here.
Oh, God, they probably would have built his helicopter.
Yep, although they certainly would have.
That's a hideous idea.
That's awful.
The plot of this movie, though, like, all right, let's talk about this real quick.
Yes.
The fucking what? Okay, we know. Let's just okay. What do we know about the Borg? The Borg's whole thing, they assimilate, and the purpose of assimilation is not to like get more drones, because we know that they have like little baby drawers full of drones.
Oh God!
They assimilate because they want to add your technological and biological distinctiveness to our own. It's in their little speech.
Yeah.
It's in their mission statement.
It's in their
So
pitch.
what possible advantage could there be to assimilating Earth at this time?
They won't fight back.
Yeah,
But-
it's to prevent the rise of the Federation, who's been a huge thorn in their ass.
It hasn't been, though. The only
Picard knows their weakness, and they want to prevent Picard.
No, I don't agree. I think
But you also have all these extra theories about the Borg, too, right?
I don't know. It just doesn't seem in line with their priorities.
It just seems to me that they were doing it so that they could stop Earth from becoming like a big superpower.
Yeah.
So that they would be able to do their Borg thing unhindered.
Yeah, for them to jump out of the Borg cube that is exploding and be like, fuck this, let's go back and make sure this doesn't happen again.
Well, if that was their plan, like if that
They could have gone back and made sure Locutus stayed assimilated, maybe?
or even just like, if the Borg have the option of going back in time and assimilating planets in the past, why not just go back
when there isn't a fleet next to
when there
you.
isn't a fleet? Just
point.
go back in time, then go to Earth. There's not going to be anyone there to stop you.
Here's the thing about the Borg sphere that we see, is that it's got Borg Queen on it. And I think it's Borg Queen who's kind of making the choices, because they added Borg Queen to this movie because a simple zombie horde, whilst awesome in concept, started becoming really, really hard to write for because there's no like one thing you can write about them except that they exist and they will kill you. And they added this central figure, this central Borg Queen figure as the focal point. And it's I get the impression that it's her that makes the kind of decisions, and that if she gets killed in the explosion, bad things happen.
Well, again, that's like.
Are there multiple Borg Queens? Is
I
she
think
the
that.
only
Well,
one?
no. Like, why would
Is
no?
it like bees?
My assumption would be that because the Borg Queen that Locutus knew did blow up
That's
at
not
Wolf
what she
359 or whatever.
She said she got away.
Well,
she said you think so third dimensionally, which makes me think that there's like
She's probably spread throughout the collective.
I'm assuming. Here's my thing on the
Oh.
Queen. I don't think the Queen is a person.
I got
I
the
think-
impression that she escaped 359 by jumping back in time.
Oh.
Maybe, I guess, but I don't know. My assumption has always been that the Borg Queen is,
Whoever is the active one at any given time.
or yeah, it's like just like with bees, right?
Yeah,
So
she eats the royal jelly. She
she's the
becomes
royal
the
jelly,
Borg
you
Queen.
become the queen.
Yeah.
So like the collective that was on the Enterprise in this movie, right? Because they're like most of the Borgs died when the sphere blew up.
Yep.
And then
The cube and then the sphere.
Yeah, and then some of them beamed over the Enterprise and started assimilating the crew.
Yeah, so most of this Borg threat are former crew members.
Or yeah, I would say almost all of them. And then you have, and then I would say that probably just it was one of those crew people was like, okay, this is going to be our queen now. So like maybe whenever you have an isolated collective like this, maybe there's a queen that's created.
But
That would explain why she was a disembodied voice at first,
But
and
I-
then had to be assembled in front of Data.
Yeah.
that assembly scene is fucking hot.
Really?
It took them 5 months to do that scene. To all the CG in it.
I mean, it holds up 22 years later, so well done.
For a long time, my headcanon, even though I know it's a different actress, my headcanon for this was that the Borg Queen was the woman that we see go into the Jeffries tube and get assimilated at the beginning.
Oh,
And it's not, I
interesting.
mean, it's a different actress, so it's
But I
obviously
also
not,
think
but-
we see her later in, like, a line of people to get further modified after the Borg Queen has shown up.
No, maybe. But
There's definitely a frazzled-looking ginger in zombie mode
Yeah,
later.
they actually had only like 8 to 12 Borg actors throughout
Yeah.
the whole movie. They would just swap out parts on and to create the impression that there were a lot of them, because Borg fucking makeup and costuming took for fucking
well,
ever.
they also kind of redesigned them a lot for
They
this.
look great.
Yeah.
They look
I like
terrifying.
their little cubbies with their Spencer Gift
Yep.
zippy zappy things on top.
Yep.
It's like it's always funny when you see a thing on Star Trek. Like I kind of give the show a pass for budget reasons, but when they're doing a major motion picture and one of the most prominent props is very clearly something you can buy at Spencer Gifts,
Yeah.
it's it does pull you out a little bit.
A little bit.
I didn't even notice it. What is this you're talking
So like
about?
in their little the little wall cubbies that they hang out in.
Yeah.
Above them, there's this round.
It's the same thing Data's head was on his little table with, like, the sparkly effect
Oh,
going
it's
Yeah.
one of those things that you like touch the ball. And
Yeah.
Okay.
Except
Yes, I know it.
it's the flat
Flat
version
one.
of that.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's very corny. I'm sure in 1997.
Isn't that just called like an electricity ball or something?
It's called a plasma. The ball one's called a plasma ball. I
Plasma
don't know
ball.
what the flat one. It might have a different name.
Okay.
lightning disc.
But yeah, it's where laser pointers taped to their face for the laser pointer scene.
Yeah, but those still work.
Yeah, no, that's
I mean, the thing is, like, what's a laser target but a laser pointer? I mean, at the end of the day, what I do want
But
to know
why
is
would they even have a laser target?
science.
Fucking Borgs.
But there is that
For
scene though where
sport.
they burst into the room and it's a dark room and then all the fucking lasers come
Yeah.
on and it's creepy as
Mhm.
fuck.
Yeah.
What the hell was that room? Why does the Enterprise just have a big, seemingly empty black room?
That's where the dolphins used to be.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
R.I.P. the
Borg
dolphins.
dolphins.
Oh God, is that what the dolphin in Johnny Mnemonic is? It's a Borg dolphin.
But yeah, so the other thing too about this movie, so we don't really know how many crew were on the planet on Earth,
No.
but it's safe to assume maybe 20.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Geordi had a team doing
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
Reg was there being Reg.
Reg.
Yeah, I like that cameo. That was fun. Yeah, and there was clearly a handful of people on the planet.
That got scrubbed from history that they were even there.
Like there is at most a dozen living people that aren't Borgs on the ship by the end. Like they're all on the bridge. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean that like
Oh, you mean like when they evacuate, you think all that's left is...
I think there's like 30 people left on the ship.
A good amount
the
of
end.
escape pods are launched, though.
No more than I'd say no more than a dozen.
Isn't the E also smaller though? What's the crew complement of the E?
I don't know. Probably a few hundred at least. My belief here is that basically the entire crew.
So here's my question then.
Is
So at
gone.
the end, we defeat Borg Queen by melting all her organic material, jumping quickly to the end,
And then breaking her neck.
and snapping her.
Which is
For
evidently
good.
a single point of failure for the entire collective. If she dies,
I was gonna
they
ask,
all
like, what
die.
happened to the other ones? 'Cause
They
the
show
ones,
them- they show
the ones
them-
in the room fucking got
Vaporized.
gassed together.
Yeah, but even
as
the ones
well.
that weren't gassed just like started zapping
Okay.
out and falling down. So I'm guessing that again, it's like there's a lot of convenient writing in this movie.
Yeah, I think they had to wrap it up.
This is like when you kill a vampire, all the other vampires die.
Yeah, they all just die, which again like seems very un-Borg like to me because you'd think that given that it's a collective, given that it's a the Queen just seems more like the mouthpiece to the whole affair.
You think they wouldn't be 1970s Christmas tree lights?
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
good. I like that.
It might have something to do with their isolation.
Maybe I would just assume that the system, because I don't know. I think of the Borg as being like a cluster, right? That like there's no, just like with the ship when they even back in Q Who or whatever it was when they find the
when Q sends them to the
when he meets
Delta
they're
Quadrant.
like, look, the ship is clearly decentralized. You could destroy any one part of it, and it would continue to function. And it's like, oh, I assume that's how they all worked. So like that if they killed the Queen is kind of like the mouthpiece, is kind of like the embodiment of that collective. But if you kill her, someone else will just become the Queen.
Yeah, that would have been a better way to do it.
But again, then you don't really end the movie by killing the Queen.
Well, she's gotta die anyway because she's the baddie and she's fucking hot. And maybe if they can figure out, like, okay, what if we can save everybody who was assimilated, and maybe that gives Bev something to do for a while.
I also found it interesting that Picard is evidently still at least part Borg.
It's very interesting.
Like he can hear them, so
It's
he's
weirdest
still
that-
connected to the
It's
collective.
weirdest to me that when he hears Data, because Data, is he part of the Borg now?
I think he was jacked in. I think
he was jacked off,
Yeah.
certainly. But
I think
jacked something.
Yeah, maybe when he was banging the Borg Queen.
that's when Picard heard him.
That's
And-
Jackie.
He's like, Data, no.
Why was he thinking Captain when he was fucking the Borg Queen?
Data's into some kinky shit.
Okay, so the closest thing I can find is it may have had a crew complement of about 880.
So if we assume, I would say probably many dozens, hundreds are probably dead.
Yeah.
Good amount either way.
Borg got a lot of them.
Yeah. So, speaking of, this is sort of, they're two related things. What a pain in the ass must it have been to get back all those escape pods? And two, how did they land the Phoenix?
Yeah.
Water landing.
In Montana?
Big umbrella, not umbrella.
Parachute.
Yeah, parachute, thanks.
Because that's something that didn't occur to me until, like, maybe in the last year or so. I was like, wait a fucking minute. How did that ship land?
I mean, the freaking SpaceX ships can land.
Can they?
The SpaceX rockets?
Oh, that's right.
That's
They
like
had that
their-
whole
that's like
to-do, huh?
That's like their big freaking
Yeah.
selling point, is that they can
Oh, yeah, you can
reuse
reuse them. Yeah.
Okay, maybe it can just do a vertical landing. Not vertical. Or maybe it can somehow land on...
The thing that's funny, though, is that when this movie was made in 1997, there were no
96.
rockets that you could...
Yeah.
Whatever. There was no rockets that you could land.
But it's 2063 in the movie.
I know.
Star
So
Trek,
they
always
probably
thinking ahead.
were like, well, we just won't show the landing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the US. But
That'll but
I mean, it's
honestly,
Cochrane.
like today in 2019, there's a believable thing that could happen.
I can kind of picture it though. It's like, so, Dr. Cochrane, how are we landing? Oh, well, Lily set up a shitload of pillows in a valley nearby. I'm aiming for that.
Why was there room for Riker and Geordi on the...
Well,
I assume there were co-pilots.
There probably would have been
got killed.
Lily
and somebody
probably
else.
would have been one of them.
Okay.
And yeah, there were a bunch of people killed in the complex. At least one of the others probably would have been there. But I always assumed Lily was originally meant to be part
What's
of the
interesting,
flight.
though, is what's going to happen when, it's a big historic event when they say, oh, Cochrane, where are your co-pilots? That guy.
Yeah,
They've
Lily.
gone to a better place.
Yeah.
That's all he needs to say.
Well, yeah, I mean, certainly Lily can help him cover.
Yeah.
Yeah, because she's seen some things now.
Yeah. As always, Picard, love showing bitches space.
Yeah.
Apparently New Zealand is completely vaporized in World War III.
It's
Gone.
also like,
Fully gone.
I know that, they must have had to give Lily and Cochrane and presumably other people the talk about the Prime Directive, I guess. But you would think that they would, somebody would write a letter, seal it in an envelope, and be like, open this in 300 years. And just in it says, the fucking Borg. And, here's how to defeat them. That might have been a prudent move.
The fucking Borg.
They didn't have time to do that. They were all too busy jerking off about how great it was to meet a living legend.
That's true. Oh, God. Yeah, that was a little,
Geordi goes so overboard. I mean...
You told him about the statue?
Have you
Geordi,
seen
though,
my eyes?
he's got those fancy eyes.
Oh, I hated it. Every time they would focus in and he'd be like...
I
was like, oh, God, make it
You
stop.
know what that effect was? They took video of a shower head rotating.
Oh, cool.
Oh,
That's neat.
that is neat.
You know what's
Well-
convenient, though? That I find convenient about planet-side stuff is that the Vulcans totally don't notice the Enterprise is there because they were hiding in the moon.
Yeah, that makes no
Yes.
sense.
Don't
They
like
had a nice
that.
throwaway line real quick, like, good thing we were,
Stuff.
fog.
You know what it probably was? The Vulcans did detect them. They were just being really polite. Like, oh, let's pretend we didn't see them. There's clearly some temporal shenanigans going on here where the Vulcan science director has determined that time travel is impossible, so clearly this can't be happening.
So that was the Vulcan version of, sticking their fingers in their pointy ears and going, la 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 la
Yeah.
la la la.
Yeah, weather balloon.
How far did Zephram go?
Not
Not
very
far
far.
enough.
Not very far,
Earth
'cause-
is still pretty visible.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you're going, about warp, and then hit warp, you should still be pretty fucking far away.
Yeah.
But yet they spot the Enterprise is sitting right there. The Earth is only a little bit smaller.
Well, no, they didn't see the Enterprise until after they saw the Enterprise before they went to warp.
Yeah,
But still, as you're approaching warp, you're still going fucking fast.
that's
Yeah.
true.
But again, I don't know that warp is really a thing that it's not like you don't accelerate up to warp. I think you.
Oh, you just hit the hyperdrive kind of a thing.
Yeah, that's
Well,
why he went.
except-
Whoa!
But they did say approaching light speed at one
Yeah, I
point.
think that might have been just a dumb line because I don't think because if they were actually approaching light speed, they would probably die. I don't think you can go that fast.
Yeah.
I think that's why you need warp.
So that's the thing. For this to work, Zephram Cochrane invented warp drive.
Mm.
Somebody else invented the inertial dampener.
Exactly.
What does the inertial dampener do?
It's
What
what
keeps you from getting smushed?
it's what keeps people from turning to paste.
Yeah, okay.
It's also actually how they sort of justify the crew getting thrown around dramatically during battles. It's the inertial dampeners sort of trying and failing to keep everything steady.
Oh, I kind of like that.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
That
So-
actually works.
While I like, I definitely like James Cromwell's performance and the characterization of Zephram Cochrane.
It's all Reg's fault,
It's
Reg's weirded him out.
That's true. One thing that just about the idea that Zephram Cochrane is this genius. The characterization that we got was more like a Rasmussen type character than he struck me as somebody that was wandering around in Montana and stumbled on this missile silo and there was an actual team of scientists there. They were like, oh yeah, we're building this warp ship, and he's like, warp ship, eh? And then
I'd sit on top of that.
they all died in the attack, And then he's like, well, I guess I'll fly this thing then.
I mean, I think what you can sort of justify it as is they say it's, 10 years after World War III?
Mm-hmm.
He was presumably a more straight-laced
He was an actual scientist
person,
Well,
and
he
then
probably saw or was involved with some shit.
Yeah,
he was
and the
a
war
prominent
just
scientist during the war.
broke him, and that's why he's sort of the way he is, but can still actually do what he does.
Oh, yeah, I love the hints of the world that we get. That when Lily's talking about, what faction are you with? And it's like, oh, that's right, you guys are still like reeling from this.
Yeah, so there's something called the Eastern Coalition.
Mm-hmm.
So
China.
I'm guessing that's like some Asian.
Originally, it was just going to be China.
Yeah. Well,
You're like,
Eastern
oh.
Coalition sounds more like like the Axis powers or something. Like,
Actually, it was just at this point, Civil War's broken out again. It was actually Boston.
yes.
Come over here and say that shit, Montana. We'll fuck you up, Cad.
And like Riker says at one point, like, oh, very few governments.
Mm.
I wonder what governments there are, if
Yeah.
any. Like,
Yeah.
is there a United States? Yeah. So yeah, this is some World War III shit.
Yeah. So I meant to bring this up earlier
Yeah.
when we were on her specifically, but I feel like I'm sure at the time it was common, but even to this day, I feel like people still sort of argue whether or not the Borg Queen was a good idea or not. Like, some people are like, oh, no, that fucked everything. Other people are like, no, it makes perfect sense. And like, obviously it makes sense, again, from a narrative perspective for this film to have sort of a centerpiece figure for Picard to talk to and to hit on Data.
Yep.
But it just sort of divorced from that in the larger sense. Like, I've never been bothered by it,
No, I'm not bothered by it at all.
but I wasn't really anyone else had dissenting opinions.
No.
I think her portrayal is fucking hot. I think she looks great. She looks damp at all times, which is really cool. It's such an unusual thing because I just think she's fucking really, really cool.
She's cool. I never thought she was hot. Mostly
No,
again
I
because
think
of the
she's super
whole
hot.
always being damp thing.
You know who
I'm
really
like, towel off.
you know
would you?
who thought she was like the hottest character was Jonathan Frakes.
Oh, okay. I thought you were gonna say Rick Berman.
Oh, probably. But yeah, there was a comment that Jonathan Frakes said that was just like, yeah, she's just so fucking sexy. She's unusually sexy. It's like she should not be, but she is.
Yeah.
I don't see it, but fair enough.
I love the neck clamps.
I don't know quite where I stand on the Borg Queen. I do wish that they had maybe taken some time, if not in this movie, then any time in the future, taken some time to explain what the Borg Queen actually is.
Mm.
Because I like the idea that it's like the Borg from time to time need to talk to other things, and
Yeah.
and it's sometimes easier to do that in a personified form.
Which was kind of like their justification for Locutus originally.
Mhm.
Even.
Yes.
Was like he'd be an envoy.
Yeah, but then she met Locutus.
Yeah, I guess it
So
makes
why
more
did you
sense.
need two mouthpieces?
Well, you could justify that as being like, hey, here's somebody you knew, versus here's a creepy damp woman.
Well, that's the other thing. I think
Ugh.
they could have done that in
Damn.
this. If that's what they wanted to do with the Borg Queen, I think they could have done it in this movie by, like, they show a flash of her, that actor, with Locutus,
Mhm.
and I kind of wish that they, didn't make that so explicit that it was literally her.
Yeah, as opposed to like a
Like,
presence.
yeah, presence. Like, if you were always there, it was like, oh, you are the voice that's in the head
Yeah.
of the Borg.
I don't think they were thinking so figuratively.
I don't think
they
they were
think
either.
they
I think they
literally
dumbed it
at all
down.
times.
I think that's what they should have done, and I think that maybe they would have done that. And I think that I think Ronald Moore would have done that.
Yeah. Here's the thing, they're also, with these movies, they have to also appeal to people who haven't watched the show.
Yeah.
So they had to, they added in the Picard flashback dream at the beginning to explain what they were going to see. I assume it still worked well enough that people would understand, yep, this is their captain guy, he happened to be a Borg once, but we're following you. But, they have to, make sure that people who, don't have all the nuances know what the fuck is going on when there's a lot of fucking information going on.
And that's the thing, even though I hadn't seen a lot of TNG as a kid, I had sort of, if I hadn't seen Best of Both Worlds, I knew the gist, I knew the importance of the Borg to Picard and all that, so
Yeah, think
I
if
wasn't
you-
going in completely blind.
If you know 5 facts about Star Trek,
Yeah.
one of them is that Picard used to be a Borg.
In fact, I think the first time you showed me First Contact was before I'd seen Best of Both Worlds, and I was just like, yeah, this seems right. Speaking of Borg Queen, though, apparently she had to wear these like, going back to an old favorite, these silver contact lenses.
No.
That you could only wear for 4 minutes at a time because they were so painful.
Oh god.
So I feel very sorry for that actress. And when she had her first suit, her first one-piece rubber suit that gave her all these, what word was it? What word was it for? They gave her all these tits, yes. Blisters, that's the word. They gave her all these blisters, so they had to swap it out, the suit, make a new suit, like, really super quick, out of a light foam. Still looked great.
Poor bitch.
Yeah.
Yeah. And as mentioned, she's got the Terminator skull thing going on there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like the way it's sort of like, you can tell that they've, like, pulled the skin taut, and it's got all this, it's really, really creepy looking, and the makeup's great.
Oh yeah, everything looks
and like you said, she's just like perennially damp.
No, okay, the white cat has become feist. We're getting rid of
she
this
looks
white cat.
slimy.
Come here, buddy. Here you go.
Now that's the thing though. So she appeared to be a shoulder and a head.
A spine.
And a spine just hanging down. If she fucks Data, does she have a vagina?
There's a little hack.
She can have whatever she wants.
Did she just take a vagina from one of the other Enterprise crew people that
Ew.
No,
Yeah,
they she found one of Geordi's fleshlights.
You know what?
No.
You know what actually bothered me just a tiny bit, because they give Data some skin, fucking hot, and she blows on it, and it's like, she doesn't have fucking lungs. How? What? How? What? How? I don't fucking know.
I just thought the effect of him getting goosebumps was awesome.
Yeah,
That was done really well.
That's like one of the best, because like, we talk about some of these things have aged really well, some of them have aged really badly. That thing seemed really, really, really good for 1996.
Brent was acting his ass off, and he looked fucking awesome.
Yeah, no, he
Like
was,
every
he was definitely
little
hot.
every little orgasm noise he makes, I'm just like, oh my god.
Yeah, there's lots of
So
You're turning my emotion chip on.
Amusingly,
Using my butthole.
looking. Wow, it's usually Jake's
That's
line.
where they keep the emotion chip. I thought you knew.
Looking up the actress that played the Borg Queen,
Yeah.
Alice Krieg. She once appeared in an episode of Murder, She Wrote as a character named Nita Cochrane.
Yeah.
Although it doesn't have an E at the end.
Yeah, I need a Cochrane,
I bet she was
Also,
a
of
cougar.
course, 2 years after this, Patrick Stewart would actually play Captain Ahab in a made-for, I think, TNT adaptation of Moby Dick.
I did love the confrontation between him and Worf, and then him and Lily. It was
Yeah, it
just
was a great scene.
so much angry Picard, and breaking things and yelling at people,
So we
breaking down.
we talked about James Cromwell. What do we think of Alfred Woodard as?
Oh, she's great.
Oh, yeah,
She's amazing.
You know, it's good that they got someone like... Because they had to get someone who could...
Believably square off against Jean-Luc Picard.
Yeah, and like I
And
think
she was
that,
good friends with Frakes, too.
I don't know that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
But yeah, like that, like, because most of their scenes, yeah, fine, this could have been almost anyone, but it's the square offs. He's like, you needed someone who could approach his level of acting.
Yeah, I specifically
for that
wrote
to work.
down, Picard and Worf are fighting, and I'm here for it. ... Picard and Lily are fighting, and I'm also here for this.
Yeah. What's interesting though, like, is because they cast the show in 1987 or 1986 when they created the show, and I don't think anyone's going to be handing out any acting awards to Gates McFadden or Marina Sirtis.
Well, who knows? They barely let them do anything.
Well, that's also true.
Troy got to get drunk.
Yeah. Oh God, that was kind of a cringy drunk scene.
Poor Troy.
But like, I love them both. I'm not shitting on them, but like, it's interesting when we get to the movies where they end up, hiring like
casting these incredible
like
actresses.
really good actors in these guest, I guess you call them guest roles, and it's like, oh yeah, your performance in contrast to the regular cast. And I didn't mean to shit on Marina and Gates. I mean, the same comment applies to most of the male cast members as well. That compared to the guest cast, they don't really hold up too well.
You know who had a brief guest spot that I love so fucking much is the emergency medical hologram.
Oh yeah,
I love him with like every fiber of my
Robert
being.
Picardo.
he's great.
He's magical. Like, and he's the one that asked to have this cameo. He says to them, like, yeah, you're doing a Star Trek on the Enterprise E. You know what an Enterprise E would have is an EMH.
Yeah.
Did he really? That's so ballsy.
He
I love
specifically
that.
says, like, it would totally have one.
I love
And it
that.
would, and I think it was used well. It was used You know, it was a good joke.
Yeah.
One, you know, there were a couple cameos. You know, there was Barkley, Ethan Phillips.
Uncredited.
Oh, that's right.
Uncredited
He's the Mater D.
as the
there.
Mater
Who's
D.
Ethan
He
Phillips?
plays Neelix on Voyager.
He's the
The Mater D
yeah, he's the Mater D at the
in the hologram bar.
the one the two Borg kind of scan his head and it flickers.
Okay.
That was cool.
I remember that. That was cool. There were a lot of really like surprisingly good effects in this film.
Yeah.
Yeah, apparently Ethan Phillips like specifically said to uncredit him, to not credit him, so that people would always be wondering, was that Neelix?
What? Why would?
Because he's a weird guy.
But it's obviously him. I don't think anyone was like, "Whoa, wow, that's shocking that it's him."
Well, I didn't know, but that's just...
I know, but you don't watch Voyager.
Not
so.
yet.
You've seen his face.
I don't think it can.
Unfortunately.
Under a lot of makeup.
And we did
His
get a
fucking
little
awful penis nose.
a little Nurse Ogawa.
It's
Yeah.
Ogawa
He's
action.
a normal sized Nurse Ogawa.
Oh, we also got a new, you know, the 1 day temp, Lieutenant Hawk.
Yeah.
Hawk, he was good.
Neil McDonald.
I like him.
McDonough.
Does he bite it? He does, right?
He does.
He gets
He
Boards
gets
assimilated
he gets-
while he's on
He
the...
does. He does the body and the head turn
Yeah.
to reveal that
Yeah,
he is
yeah.
Borged.
Yeah.
Good.
From the inside out.
Good dramatic Borging there. Man, I love that scene on the
deflector dish.
on the deflector. Like,
It's weirdly...
it's just so
such a-
tense.
It's such a long scene. Like I wrote in my notes, like this is like 5 minutes of watching them punch in codes and twist the
But
thing.
it's like
Oh,
the
it's so
but
tension
it's
is
intense.
riveting the whole
Yeah, no,
time.
it's-
What's exactly that?
When
And
not-
that's
when,
the
like,
thing,
it's so slow
It's
moving.
not super actiony. It's like compare this to like the fucking bridge fight from Generations, where it's just like let's just punch and fight,
Oh,
bridge,
yeah.
bridge,
Yeah.
and it's like
Let's fall off this bridge.
there was so much more tension in that scene that was
Well, and
you know
it really
visually
gets
a lot more boring.
to the core of like what can really make the Borg so threatening is that
They don't attack you.
they weren't that concerned about
No.
it. You know, like there's like, send Fred to deal with those assholes. We're building this thing.
Yeah, they don't attack you unless they think you're a threat.
Yeah.
If they're not attacking you, you should feel worse.
I love how Picard when they're there he's like be careful you don't shoot the dish
Yeah.
because you know it's filled with anti-protons and will blow up the ship. And then the first thing he does when there's a Borg walking towards him is shoot the fucking dish. Just pew!
Do as I say, not as I do.
I will say, like, I could have done without assimilate this.
I thought the same
But you
thing.
know they just did that so they could have it in the trailer.
Oh yeah,
Which
Good-
they
good-
did.
Good soundbite, like
it
you
was
do.
in every version of the trailer, I'm pretty sure.
It was a pretty lame line, though.
But that's something you could have filmed and then not actually put in the final film.
Is it better than when Lily first looks at him and he just automatically says, "I am a Klingon"? It's like, thanks, Worf.
I thought that was funny.
Yeah,
I thought that was
funny.
It
good.
felt
Does
it felt Worf.
Does he say that to all the girls?
He says it all to
Only the ones that have never
all
seen
the
the
21st
Klingon.
century people he meets.
Which
that
is
are-
a lot. Which is just weirdly a lot.
Mm,
Did he say the same thing in the neutral zone?
meh. Yeah. Oh, okay. This scene. So going back to the Neelix scene, the
In the
holodeck scene,
holodeck?
that scene has pissed me off.
Why?
From the day this movie came out.
Yeah, how come?
Is it because of where did the costumes come
Where
from?
did the fucking costumes come
Yes,
from?
fucking exactly! We just saw it in Generations when they were playing on their little boat with Worf and going for a swim that they brought their own costumes in because they
Yep.
wear the costumes out.
Yeah.
And now you can just program the costumes to appear?
And like it's not just like it's like I would okay maybe it'd be one thing if there was like a
When did they have time to change? God fucking
would there
damn it,
be like a
Star Trek.
holographic shell on them that is the costume, but then again, but like Lily was wearing like a dress that had a cut, but her regular clothes were like didn't
Yeah,
have
she
a
had
cut.
like a turtleneck.
Yeah, so and there's no way
It's
like
holographic skin.
well right so like is it on top of her? Are these all like giant avatars of
Yes,
them in the
that's
holodeck?
exactly what it is.
That are just,
Listen,
like 10% larger than their normal selves.
The fucking holodeck created life, for Christ's sakes. We're really this hung up about this
It
detail.
really bothers me because every time we go into the holodeck, they change their clothes, and if they leave the holodeck unexpectedly, such as Amargosa blows up or Renee is on fire, then they like. Can you imagine like?
I hate when Renee ruins outings by being on fire.
Like I like to imagine. I know it was like a written letter about Renee.
Stupid bowl cut.
Well, I like to imagine. Oh God. I like to imagine that, like, I know it was a written letter that gave Picard the news, but I like to imagine that, like, it was his brother's wife that called, and like, you know, he went and took the call in his ready room, and he was still in his fucking costume from the holodeck, and she's like, yeah, your bro and nephew are dead.
She's actually literally calling the smoldering ruins of the house are still in the background. You can actually see the firemen there still just kind of trying to stomp.
That
the
is how they
ashes
fight
so they
fires
don't
in
reignite.
France. You know, they just
I meant to say this last week.
Sacre bleu!
And I forgot to. I forgot to say this last week, and I want to say it now since we're on this. They'd be alive if Robert wasn't a Luddite.
That's true. They'd have like a fucking sprinkler system.
There is no way they do not have fireproof houses in the 24th century. So, well done, Robert. Anyway, sorry, back to
Wow,
this
way
movie.
to blame the victim.
Damn.
Yeah, Robert's kind of a dick.
Oh, I mean, yes.
And Renee likes playing with fire.
Anywho, back
Also
to
true.
this movie.
Yes.
So that holodeck scene has always bugged me. And then either it is some kind of magic that has yet to be explained, or they duck into the holodeck, change into period clothes.
Very quickly.
Replicated clothes?
I guess so.
So they're actual physical clothes?
Yeah.
So that they don't just vanish off of them when
You're
they're
right, and
when they're done?
then the holodeck shuts down.
And you're naked?
They,
That would've
they're
made for an
naked, or
interesting
do
movie.
they have to? Like, so the reason for that scene to exist is so Picard can flip out, shoot the Borg with a Tommy gun, which the Borg are apparently vulnerable to. Somebody should tell that to the rest of the Federation.
Yeah, that's very true. The fact that they keep using their fucking phaser rifles and shit
I'd like to
does
think
not work.
Well, it's like-
maybe they could adapt to hard light weapons eventually?
Well, that's the thing.
How about like a knife in the throat? How
Well,
do you
yeah,
adapt
that's
to
the
that?
thing. Like Worf
You
slices one of them up with his
No,
Macleth.
Oh, yeah, his Mac.
That's the thing. The Borg don't really do long range attacks. You really could just have everyone in the Starfleet learn, fucking space fencing and...
Sulu's there. He's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like the Borg seem to be vulnerable to things like that.
Yeah.
Oh, another thing I noticed. Have we ever seen... One thing that I noticed the Borg do is there's that one dude when they're on the first assault to engineering. One of the Borg, like,
Yeah.
shoots something into
Oh, the little
the
assimilation
little
tubes,
hoses, and then the guy immediately starts Borgifying, and it's
Yeah.
like, oh, shit!
Well, I think that's just sort of a, hey, we have money now version of what they did to Picard. Because when they took him, one of the Borg did, press their little mechano arm up against his neck.
See, I assumed that was just,
Little
making him
mechano
pass out. I thought that was just, an anesthetic.
I think that was probably the idea at the time, but you
Yeah.
could totally have it retconned. It's just that they were putting the nanites
Yeah, they
in.
definitely wanted to play with. You got a big movie budget. You can do this kind of shit. And also, I know the makeup people said that they wanted to go with you are Borgified from the inside out, not the outside in idea.
But yeah, even though you Borgify,
I like this
they
word.
still have to put on all of your parts.
Yeah, your diddly
Like,
dots.
they show people getting pimped out later.
Picard got lucky because they just slipped something over his existing arm, whereas a lot of these
Sure.
folks had their arm chopped off first.
I'm
awfully
assuming.
convenient.
I like to imagine that.
They used a one-arm actor on the dish
Exhibit
when Worf
is
chopped his arm off.
Exhibit is the guy that's doing the Borg upgrades now. There's
Oh.
yo dog. I heard you like laser pointers.
Yo, dog, I heard you liked tiny hands.
Yeah, the Borg do not
They are an aesthetic nightmare.
They are.
But that's their point.
Yeah.
And
You just look at them, they don't make sense. They're horrible. They're a twisted mass of awful.
They're zombies, but
Yeah.
mechanical zombies.
So here's the thing: is the Borg Queen pulling the same gambit with Data that Lore pulled with Data in Descent?
Isn't it nice to have emotions?
Well,
Isn't it nice to
to
be
have
more
skin.
to be more human-like?
It's like Data's. It seems like Data's Achilles heel is somebody manipulating him by promising him that he will
get
more human.
get closer to being
How does she
human, yep.
even know he wants to be a real boy?
Maybe Lore told her. I don't know. Maybe,
Yeah, look, Hudis told her.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, that would make sense.
And also, they've at this point assimilated how many Enterprise crew, and they all know he wants to be a real boy.
That's fair. I hadn't thought about that.
They've all watched him play in the fucking Tempest in the theater every week.
That was a warning from one of the drones. For the love of God, do not indulge his Shakespeare fascination, please.
That's the thing, right? So as much as Picard always knows what the Borg are planning,
He's a better empath now than Troy.
Yeah,
But
the
only for Borg.
The Borg should also know him just as well, don't you think?
You'd think.
Like, you know, that's how they won at Wolf 359 was because they just figured out, oh, this is exactly how the Federation works because Picard's here now and told us.
I mean, I think to an extent, though, they kind of were doing that. Because it really things only worked out because Data pulled one over on the Borg Queen. Not that Picard fooled them.
Data's getting much, much better at lying.
Which she said.
Which is great. It was perfect. He just leaned into it and was like, I'm just going to fuck you and then lie to you. I'm a man now. I'm more human than ever.
I'm a man now, Tanta.
Oh, God.
That's depressing but true.
Yeah.
I still ship them so hard.
You don't have to. They did it. It was there.
I just want someone to give her a towel first.
I like how Data admits at the end.
Oh, yeah.
How that he only lasted 6.6 seconds or something.
No, he says that he was tempted for...
Yeah.
Jake's making a joke.
Oh.
Oh, I see what you... I see.
Good one.
Jake's just
Good one,
making
Jake.
a joke.
I mean, it had been
Wow.
7
That was
years, something minutes.
8 minutes.
8 minutes.
And some amount of
In
hours.
an odd number of seconds.
Or whatever the fuck. Who was that? Was that about Picard or Kirk?
That's what Kirk.
Yeah,
That's
because
what-
we used to get that all the
yeah.
time, right?
One of Kirk's conquests.
It was one specific woman. I can't remember who.
Oh,
though.
I thought it happened more than once.
It did happen more than once.
It did? Oh,
In
Jesus.
TOS, yes, it did.
Okay,
Oh,
thank you. I
that's
thought
awful.
so. I feel like it's like a theme.
There's one in particular I remember then.
Yeah, there was the lawyer one.
That's what I'm thinking of, yeah.
And there was another one.
Okay.
Because I think we commented, like, they're always an odd number of days, never an even. I do love that we get the kind of reference to Yar.
Mm-hmm.
Data always hearts Yar.
Yep.
But
Well,
Data
I was-
really hasn't laid pipe since Yar.
Yeah, apparently he never banged that girl who was super into him that one time.
Yeah. Well, yeah, she was.
That was for the
She
best.
was
That
obnoxious.
relationship was doomed to
Yeah,
fail.
No, that's true.
Surprised the robot fucker didn't convince him
Mm.
from Ensigns of Command.
Yeah, she was
Hot to
She
trot.
wanted some for sure.
Everybody wants a piece of the
that
action.
science teacher lady from Thine Own Self.
But see,
You are an Iceman. Iceman have large phalluses.
here's the thing. He doesn't remember being Jason or whatever.
Jaden.
So, Jaden. So maybe he did.
Quite possible.
Yikes.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Quite possible.
He would never cheat on his love.
Or maybe.
But he didn't know who he was at that point.
No, I know.
I'm just saying, they might have fucked.
Yuck.
So yeah, what else? Anything else?
I have
of
one more
interest?
important note in that.
I have one. I'm sorry. I have one really important. note.
Okay.
Because this is more frivolous than your important.
But
note.
this is a frivolous one, but go on.
Why is Geordi wearing sunglasses?
It's
Oh.
sunny out.
So that
He has fake eyes.
You don't want the glare.
I'm sure you can adjust the levels.
So presumably they're telling as few people as possible the truth about themselves.
Yeah, no one's gonna notice. Like, where did 30 extra people show up, all with future technology?
And knowing exactly what all the schematics of our ship
Came
are.
by from they traveled from Kansas, from a slightly less destroyed Boise.
Why did Barkley just take apart my still?
Because they need... Oh, that is what that was from! Cochrane must have been pissed!
I know.
Oh, is that the joke
Yeah,
there?
because they even show a still at one point, and that is exactly what that is. Barkley stole that from the still.
Oh my
Nice.
god.
That's appropriate.
That's
I
fucking
never would have
perfect.
guessed that. That's great.
A number of times I've seen this movie and I never made that connection. But yeah, no, so presumably it was just make sure they don't see your mechano eyes.
Maybe, yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, so the note I had is that they cut an element of the set that would have been in the ready room and used the big
Livingston?
Livingston.
Wait, really? Oh,
They were
God, I'm
gonna have they were
sorry.
gonna have a big circular tank for him because it's new ship, new tank for Livingston. I assume Livingston survived the crash.
Good.
I don't know.
That makes me happy.
But they would have at least had a big fish tank for either Livingston or Livingston 2.
Livingston.
But they cut that. I don't know why they cut that.
They had to spend all their money on their Spencer's plasma
there you
balls.
go.
No, all the continuity with the fish was going to drive them crazy.
That too.
What I found interesting about the sets, right? So they obviously did build some new sets. Engineering was brand new.
Yep.
Bridge looked pretty new.
Mhm.
The conference room looked like a redress of the conference room.
Yeah, it probably was.
And the sick bay, which only did feature in one brief scene, was very clearly a redress a very light redress of
Yes.
the Voyager sick
Ha.
bay,
Yes,
which
it
itself
was.
was a redress of the Next Generation sick bay.
Nice.
So
you
really,
use what you've got and save
got-
a lot of money for it.
I guess so. Maybe they've done decades of research and found this is the optimal layout for a sick bay.
You know how they saved lots and lots of money doing the missile silo shooting?
By
Didn't they
shooting
really
a
use
missile?
Using an actual
Yeah,
missile
I
silo.
assumed it was a silo.
They were in, where the fuck did I write this down?
Bozeman, Montana.
There it is. It was the title Missile Museum in Arizona.
Yeah, because at the end in the credits there's a whole thing, thanks to the U.S. military and this missile museum and this and that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but speaking of the new Enterprise, the Enterprise E, I noticed something, because I do not usually notice the new things, but I noticed I hate the bridge. Because all the stations are just scattered around like desks in a Montessori classroom.
It's a little too wide.
And
It's
just imagined everyone was like doing finger painting at their desks and looking up at the teacher. I'm like, oh my god, fuck this.
Yeah, no, I will admit, it's got the same problem that actually the Discovery bridges have. Is that they're like, oh, we're wide screens. We have a really wide bridge. And it's just like...
But everyone's so far away and you're
It doesn't
wasting
make
space.
sense.
You wouldn't
You
waste
can, but
space on a
why?
spaceship.
Yeah, no, they never figured out a good way to deal with that.
But the original movie, the movies 1 through 6 were shot in widescreen, and they didn't have a giant.
No,
wide
that's
bridge.
true.
Their bridges were, they were bigger than the original series television bridge,
But they still managed to look intimate.
Yeah,
That clearly is people working on that just were better at designing bridges for movies.
I guess so. I think, yeah. I do. I've never had strong feelings about the Enterprise E bridge, but I'll say it's not particularly memorable in any
No,
way.
it's a bit... I will say I do appreciate the captain's chair has more prominence, because that's a big bugbear of mine.
And I like that, Riker's seat. Riker has like a better little computer, it looked like, than what he normally has.
Which I think
Normally
disappears
he has nothing.
for one of the movies, but then comes back.
Yeah, but in one of the movies, he gets the manual steering column.
Jesus Christ.
So
We'll
much
get
to
to
look
that.
Oh,
forward to.
since we're talking about actually two things. One, again, from that book I had about the making of the movies, early versions of the Enterprise E had the nacelle struts swept forward, but it was rejected because from top down it just looked like a turkey.
I saw a picture.
Mm.
It does.
It's
It
like
does
it
look like a
does.
fucking. They called it the chicken in the pan ship.
Like a
and they're
turkey?
oh no!
Like one kind of like with the legs all... I'll show you later.
Imagine looking top down at a chicken on a fucking platter,
One that's been plucked and
and the,
cooked.
and the legs are
okay.
sticking out like this.
Oh, okay.
That's
okay,
what
I
it
gotcha.
looked like.
That's
Yeah.
funny.
One thing we haven't addressed either, the uniforms. They're...
Yeah. Don't they change back again in a movie? They
No,
don't?
these
are what they're with
these
now?
are what they were at the end. This is what they switched to partway through Deep Space Nine.
I feel like in the beginning, Picard's looked like it was over big and it looked really sloppy.
It did.
Okay.
What I will say is, like, I
I
think
never noticed that shit.
I
I mean,
slightly...
also Patrick Stewart is a very small man, so anything that's bigger than him will look big.
I have slightly cooled on these uniforms over the years, but I will say the optional tactical vest look for the captain, that's spot on. And both Patrick Stewart and Avery Brooks rock that look very well.
Well, maybe I'm thinking specifically of the vest. Do we see the vest again?
Avery Brooks will wear the vest again in future.
Okay.
I don't know if Picard does,
All right.
but Avery Brooks will definitely whip out the vest sometimes to be like Captain Badass. And I like that you get a lot more color with the vest. Like this version of the uniform, someone could cross their arms and tilt their head down and you have no idea what department they're in.
When they're going down in the... Speaking of clothes, another thing I noticed
Yeah,
is when they
that's-
get... At the beginning of the movie, when they're first going to beam down to Earth to check out the damage,
Mm.
they get in the elevator, and Picard says, "Computer, Earth, mid-20th century civilian attire." Actually, I don't even know if he says Earth. He may or may not.
I think this is mid-21st century. So.
I think he just says mid-21st century
Yeah,
attire. Is the computer
It knows they're at Earth.
is the rest of the elevator ride which country?
Mm.
Are these rich people? Or are these poor people?
That'd be
That does not seem like enough information for the computer to make a good clothing decision. Yet somehow they were spot on.
Computer's been listening in.
I guess so.
Yeah, it's like Amazon or Google.
Yeah.
It does, though. That makes me think of one of the beautiful deconstructions that Futurama pulled in their I forget the title, but the one they go back to Area 51 in the 40s. And they, the professor and Leela go down dressed like mid-20th century people. He's 10 years too early, she's 10 years too late. Because she's like a 50s sock hop person, and he's like a late 30s, early 40s zoot suit guy.
Nice.
They both look great.
They did, but they both stood out like
But
sore thumbs.
That's a good.
That's
that's a
really
good
funny.
joke.
Yeah.
That's the kind of thing. Like you can't fashion changes so regularly. You can't just say mid 21st century civilian attire.
I don't know. I've been wearing this shirt for 20 years.
Well,
I mean, it should change.
But that's
We were gonna say something.
I mean, I'm assuming DKNY isn't still in business after World War III. Maybe.
probably not.
Maybe the clothing choices have dwindled. Maybe that's why by the time of the 24th century, everyone's basically just wearing pajamas.
Oh god, those clothes are hideous.
I really hated Zephram Cochrane's horrible coat.
Oh, the coat, yeah.
I mean, it did
But
look,
big
it looks
duster
like the
kind of
kind
thing.
of coat that someone like him would have, though.
Even before the war.
Like, it seems like a...
Did it? Because it looked like, I don't even know, like, if it was fur, it would be like some old lady's coat.
I mean, it looks like it's sort of like some kind of faux wool thing.
I don't know.
I don't know if I love or hate his stupid little studded hat.
It's a bold character choice.
That thing, it fits Cochrane perfectly, but possibly because it's ugly.
Anyone else wearing it, you'd be like, what the fuck is this guy?
Yeah.
But fucking James Cromwell wearing it, you're like, yeah, you're some eccentric, crazy science man.
Wasn't even part of the costume, he just showed up wearing it.
It's his hat.
Keep that on, Jim.
Of course, they're in Montana too, right? Like, so it gets cold. So he would have a hat and a coat.
Yeah. I feel like he stole the coat off of the corpse of some dead punk rock kid.
Okay, it's also April.
Yeah, but God knows what nuclear winter has done to
Yeah,
the
it's
climate.
true. It's been acid raining every day.
Yeah.
So is Zephram Cochrane? I don't know how old James Cromwell was in this movie. I'm going to guess in his 50s, probably.
Yeah,
when
probably.
this movie came out. But either way, I think the implication is that he's Gen Z.
Yeah, I feel like people have said that actually technically Cromwell was a little too old based on how old Cochrane was stated to have been when he left Earth and disappeared. But fuck that.
He would have been 56.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
But even when we say that maybe he appears a little older because of
The war.
New harsh
The war.
conditions.
You can always just go,
Winter.
the war.
Yeah.
That explains any kind
and
of...
being exposed to all the frickin' radiation, I'm sure he was
Lily
just
still looks great.
working around missiles.
Well, Lily's 15.
Although you noticed, did anybody notice the gun that she shot at Data? It's
Some kind of crazy machine gun.
it was
really.
like a fucking Tommy gun. It was like you'd expect it to be like an AR-15 or some future weapon.
It's something they kit bashed together. All the
Yeah.
good weapons
Yeah,
are gone.
I would believe that.
It was found in some Montana gun collector's.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's like some
collection.
antique. It's weird.
Oh yeah, that. Ooh, we were talking about this I think off air. It's a special effect that did not age well. Data jumping down. That is so piss poor. That is like 70s Superman flying special
Well, he
effects.
glides down. It's like he's
Well, it's
made
clearly
of
just a-
fucking metal. He should be like boom gone down.
Well, it's also like clearly just a still photo of
He would-
Brent
he would
Spiner that they
fall
like
down.
slid.
I just feel like he should have been falling faster. It felt like a really
Do you
slow
not
fall.
know how gravity works? Everything falls at the same speed.
Fine, whatever. But my point is, like, it feels like he was falling slower than gravity should have been propelling him.
Maybe that.
I mean,
that's true. Yes.
My main thing is
He put out his little sugar glider wings. And
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Maybe.
again the matting isn't good, and also it's the fact that it's clearly just a still photo of Brent Spiner because he doesn't move at all. He's just
No.
like holding that weird X pose.
yeah, and it doesn't also like pan in any way. It's just from
Yeah.
the same angle. It's like
You know, it was like they finished the Borg Queen effect, and they were like, I feel like we're forgetting to do the final version. Fuck it. And then the movie comes out, and they go, fuck.
Well, I think they probably could have gotten a stuntman to do a jump into
They probably
into an
could have,
airbag or something.
yeah.
But the thing is, when you jump into an airbag, you have to roll onto your back, so you don't. You can't land on your feet.
No,
in an airbag?
then your butt would come out your head.
Well, yeah, but that's
Right.
why you shoot from the ground, you shoot the guy as he goes down before he has to start tucking,
Yeah.
and then you cut away and you cut
Or
to
you
Spiner.
have the camera lifted so he goes by.
Yeah, and then you have Spiner jump off a crate and go, I've landed!
But they probably also had limited space in that
It's his line.
silo to And they probably weren't going to want to build...
No, you don't do it in the silo.
Well, that's the thing.
I read
they
that
would have composited it, and it would have looked shitty,
I
like
read
that final shot.
I read that lighting in that silo was already fucking impossible because it's so tight.
Yeah.
And doing all the shooting in there without much fucking room meant that, Frakes and them had to literally plan every shot to be like, okay, when we're here and shooting this scene, no one can be here, and no one can be here, which means two of us can be in the room together. Wow. Everyone set? Go!
Was it goofy that two little nacelles came out of the side of the Phoenix?
No, I like it.
No, I love them. They're little original Enterprise nacelles.
Yeah, I don't know. I just thought it was a little like
orange spinny domes and the little.
I thought it was cute.
Yeah, and I think it's you can see where they're going to come up with ships in the future from this thing.
And also, just at this point, nacelles are just so integral to the visual language of human warp drive that if there wasn't something there, people would go like, "Oh, is it moving?"
I mean, the Defiant doesn't have nacelles.
No, I know, but the vast majority, I mean, not even just, most Klingon ships have very visible nacelles.
Not the Bird of Prey.
No, I was thinking of the D7 and the big blue fucker. I mean, yeah, again, others, you don't see a nacelle on a Ferengi ship or things like that. But overall, like, human ships have always had, like, big, obvious nacelles. And again, like, yes, realistically, they don't have to have that. But narratively, again, it's already part of this visual language we've come to expect.
Nerds will fucking splooge when they see that.
This is true.
I'm splooging right now.
I noticed.
Sorry.
What else have I got? Oh, Zephram Cochrane is the only one allowed to say Star Trek without sounding idiotic, and it worked.
I don't know about that.
It felt a little
some kind of Star Trek.
I like
Who would
his
say that?
delivery.
What I did
Nobody.
like, though, from that line, I do enjoy him calling them astronauts. Because that's a term that you don't hear thrown around in Star Trek, but that is what they are. Yeah. So it's kind of nice to, it's like, yeah, they are astronauts, aren't they? Which makes them seem a little cooler. Yeah, the astronauts are cool.
Well, it's also, I liked how, they used what people from the 21st century would call certain things. Like he says, I either have a hangover from the whiskey or your laser gun.
Yeah.
And Lily at one point is like, oh, it's my first ray gun. Like,
yep.
They're saying, they're not using the lingo.
Yeah.
Broke your little
which is a smart. I mean, it's obvious that they wouldn't, but it's something where I could see a writer fucking that up and like.
Yeah. It was a nice touch that they didn't fuck that up. The little ships, at least some of them, they just bought like the models you could buy in the toy store and painted them gold.
Nice, they look good.
Yeah, in fact, I think
Miss Livingston, but okay, fine.
Like actually, the Enterprise D that broke.
Instead of you've broke your little ship, you've killed your little fish.
No. But yeah, even the Enterprise D, like one of the nacelles came off in such a way that that's just how the model comes apart for packaging.
Oh,
really?
that's funny.
Yeah, I had that one. The nacelle just popped off.
I don't know. I think it's that one right there, probably.
Yeah, when you pop the nacelles out of that one.
Yeah, he's like, watch, crack.
Yeah, and you can see. I think you can even see the little like that thing, the little
They
connector.
actually made a limited edition
Gold one?
My
Oh,
dad
okay.
has one.
Nice.
That's funny.
The others, they obviously probably had to like. I don't think they ever made like an Enterprise C toy in that scale, so they probably had to build that.
Well,
definitely-
they also, I mean, like round 2 makes plastic models that just have to be assembled too.
Did they at the time still? Or?
Oh yeah, they had models,
But to that scale, I guess is the question.
or close enough.
Yeah, because you do very distinctly see an Ambassador class neck, like in high detail. So they put some effort into that.
Yeah, neat.
Boy, I have an amazing ability to just really kill the conversation.
Yeah, Chris. Well, we've been
Whenever we're
talking for a
talking ship
while.
aesthetics, somehow it's every time. Every time we get too deep into ship aesthetics, we're like, no, we're done.
Chris is
now.
always talking
Sorry.
shit. That's what we should give you a weekly column, and it should be called Chris Talks Ship. Ship Talking with Chris.
Star Trek ship posting.
Ah, that's really good.
Someone actually already semi-regularly posts shipped images on there with that hashtag.
Oh, okay, fine.
So now that the Enterprise has this magical time portal technology,
We will never see it again.
oh, never mind.
Wait, do they have time? Wait,
I mean, they were able to.
how do they get
Yeah,
back?
how do they get back?
They replicate.
They said they recreated what the Borg sphere did.
Yeah, there's like a throwaway line.
But in reverse to go
Yeah.
forward in line.
But like how?
Right.
Yeah.
Tacky.
I mean, we already know the fucking slingshot around the sun thing.
That's
works.
true.
I said that.
But
when they-
only if you have Spock on board. But we have just met a whole bunch of Vulcans. And I wrote a note that somewhere it's established, I forget how canon this is, or if it's in like Star Trek Online or something. The Vulcan who greets Zephram Cochrane, his name is supposed to be Solkar, and somewhere someone decided that he's the grandfather of Sarek, and thus the great-grandfather of Spock.
Nope, that's
Naturally,
dumb. I
of
reject
course.
it.
Yeah.
But they could tell you how to get home.
I do like, though, to think that genuinely, like, you know, when humans aren't around because they're too polite, Vulcans just curse that man's name. It's like, oh god, he had to stop and say hello to those assholes.
Solkar.
He ruined
You
everything.
just had. What were they doing in the system? Do they check up on the Earth like we do with the Mintakans?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah,
There's a
maybe
whole bunch in a duck blind
Yeah.
somewhere. Palmer's falling out of it.
Yeah.
No, BA is a Vulcan, so it's P''LMR. Pulmar.
Shut up, Bobby Hill.
OG. Yeah. Cool. Star Trek. Star Trekkin'.
And I would
Oh.
say I definitely liked this better this time because, as you guys recall, did we see this, 2 summers ago?
Something like that.
And it was
I think only
before.
last year.
Was it last year?
Yeah, because I think that was the one we saw at the planetarium.
Oh, yeah, the year before that was
Yeah,
Galaxy Quest.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Well, either way, I feel like this one meant a lot more because I
Have
think
actually
at that
seen
point.
TNG now.
Well, I would have seen some of it by then, but I don't think we had seen the Borg yet, and I don't
Yeah.
I hadn't. Data was still being early days Data,
Yeah.
and I really appreciated it more because I'd seen the progression of robot to man and the emotion chip.
Yeah, I remember you being fairly cold on this one, and it wasn't just because you hate Bev's hair in this movie.
Oh my god!
That doesn't help, though.
She came on screen. I was like, "Up and here's her fucking hair." It's so bad.
Yeah, it's just it's the 90s.
I just really don't like it. I dislike it less than I disliked it the first time, but I still don't like it.
Another thing, if we forgot to mention, of course, the return of Jerry Goldsmith as composer.
And his son helped because he was
Yes.
very, very busy.
Yeah,
Joel,
it's-
I want to say?
I saw it in
Something
the
with a
credits. I
J.
can't remember. Yeah, but first time since 5. And what's
Yeah,
fun
It's very pretty.
is he resurrected his Klingon theme as now just Mr. Worf's theme.
Yeah. Worf is the prototypical Klingon. No, wait, he's not. He's very not.
No, that's Christopher Lloyd you're thinking of, as Jake said.
I do like that Klingon theme.
It's very good.
Yeah, and of course, he brought back not brought back, but the iconic Star Trek: The Next Generation motion picture theme. Yeah, I think this might have been the very first, not the first CD I ever bought, but the first time I saw a movie. It was like, ooh, I wonder if I can get the songs for this movie on a CD. And I went to the
Strawberries.
Sam Goody or the Strawberries or whatever, and they actually had the motion picture soundtrack on CD, and I bought it. I was very excited.
I got to admit, I got to take it back. I know one of the first things we ever posted on the Facebook page was my drunk text to you, Ames, about being mad at Riker for making Zephram Cochrane turn off Magic Carpet Ride.
He just said turn it
He
down.
did, yep. I realized, fuck, he didn't say turn it off, Zeph. You blast that shit.
Yeah, you were being rude, Zephram.
And the worst part is, though, and this I will blame on Jonathan Frakes, because this was his decision of when to do it. It's right before the, best part of the song kicks in. It's, right before the big swelling part of the chorus. It's like, dude!
Yeah, but you see,
10 more seconds!
do you know what the licensing costs for Magic Carpet Ride are for a major motion picture?
Well, the thing is, they did fully license it, because it was on the soundtrack cassette that I owned.
Yeah, I think it was
don't
on the CD.
think-
I think it was on
Was
the
it?
CD.
Okay. But yeah, so they got the rights enough that they were able to sell it. So, I mean, fuck it, man. Run with it.
I know Ooby Dooby was on the CD.
Yeah.
That fucking song's terrible.
It's real bad.
Yes, if
And I
you
remember,
dance to it.
again, that's a scenario where if in 1996 I had an MP3 player, I would have put, the songs I wanted on
And
the
then
MP3,
deleted Ooby
and then
Dooby.
I would never listen to Ooby Dooby.
You're right, though, Ames. Watching Cochrane dance to it awkwardly is perfect. It's the perfect song for him to drunk flail
in
to.
front of a Vulcan who gives 0 shits.
That is when that was when, what did you say his name was?
Solkar?
That is when Solkar knew he'd made a big fucking mistake.
That's when Solkar takes a big swig of his drink. He's
Yes.
like, oh, Jesus, it's gonna be like this.
When fucking Troy takes a swig of that drink and just fake acts as hard as she can that she doesn't like it, it's like, oh, no. We had in Generations Data take a drink and not like it, and that was fine. It was a dumb joke, but his reaction seemed genuine enough. Like,
Well, and the
this is
whole
gross.
point was that this was all new to him.
Yeah. And then
I
Marina
hate
takes
it.
this drink and starts, like, gagging and clutching her throat and freaking out. It's like, oh, Marina,
Yeah,
honey.
and then her drunk act was it was like fucking community theater.
They had no idea. They had no idea what to do with her this movie of it. Anyway.
Yeah. The worst part is, like, before she actually started talking, like, she had the perfect, like, I have been the kind of drunk she is at first, where you're just like,
Yeah, because she like
Your
kinda
whole
tilts
weight
her head back, and she's
is
like,
on your hand where you've perched your face, and you're just like, But then, like, once she started talking, she just overdid it.
Yeah.
because that's the big key is that drunk people are always trying to act like they're not drunk, so they never actually look quite as drunk as they are.
Yeah.
Well, she certainly.
But how often has she been this kind of drunk?
Probably
Well,
never,
fair,
because
man.
it's all synthahol.
Yeah, they don't have this kind of
nowadays.
alcohol on the Enterprise.
I mean,
Unless
they
you've
do.
got Romulan ale, but
I mean, they
Guinan's
definitely
got a
do,
lot
but
sachet.
maybe she
But I
doesn't
bet
partake.
Troy doesn't take it.
Yeah. Women.
Maybe Betazoid biology has who knows.
Yeah.
That's how they.
But she's certainly sobered up fucking fast. Her and Cochrane, like they're both like the next scene. They're outside completely sober, looking through the telescope, and it's like, oh,
Yeah, it's like an hour later.
it takes a hell from
It's a
being
long
That's
walk.
true.
from being that drunk.
Well, Cochrane, I think, if he's not constantly drinking, sobers up very quickly.
Well, and also
You're right, though, Troy.
He sobers because of what he sees too. I mean, I know that's
He was
not
slurring
like,
a little, you're right.
Like it goes from I'm fucking shit faced to holy shit, what's up there?
How did you do that?
But you're right, Deanna should probably still be, like, half asleep. But Cochrane's liver barely exists at this stage. He's just... if he stops drinking, he dies.
Yeah, I was just thinking that he's probably that kind of dependent where.
Well, you lose your whole family in the war, and that's gonna fucking kill you. New headcanon.
So wait, quick question though. He and Lily aren't together at all. They're just
I don't know.
partners.
I never saw a reference.
it's-
They
Yeah,
like
it's there.
hold hands at the end. So I guess I always just.
Well, I mean, that's a big moment. You could write it away as that.
Yeah,
It's like, holy
I guess
shit.
I just, especially the first time. The second time I questioned it more.
Are you,
But the
are you
fir-
suggesting an interracial relationship?
I know it's
In
it's
Star Trek?
It's wild.
We've seen a bunch of interspecies relationship, but those are okay.
Well, and I guess I felt like I know that there was not exactly the time for it, but I sort of feel like if she wasn't with Zephram, she would have got more than like a cheek kiss from Picard because they've had this whole thing. I don't know. I mean, he showed
Picard
her.
is being a gentleman.
He said, you know what Picard said before he brought her into that little room, that little weird room with,
With the space?
Strange
with the
room.
with the force field window.
Yeah, that's
whatever.
bizarre.
Who knows? Whatever. You know what he said to her when he's going in there? He goes, "I can show you the world, magic carpet ride.
Not the words.
Don't know the
That is
words,
evident.
but I kinda know the tune.
New
A whole
Zealand's
new-
gone.
Nice.
Jokes. All right. Anyway, I think we've talked. We've talked almost 2 hours.
Yeah,
Well,
well,
a lot of that
we're
was
gonna
you
lose about
fixing
20
stuff.
minutes to
Yeah.
shenanigans.
We'll see. Yeah. All right. Well, anyway, I'm gonna Jake us out if you all don't mind.
No, please.
All right, everyone. Well, that was Star Trek: The Shrek Generation, Shrek Part 2, First Shrek Contact.
Yeah, bad title. They were thinking Star Trek Borg for a while.
Oh, that's dumb.
And then Star Trek Generations 2?
Star
Oh.
Trek: The Next Generations Part 3, Star Trek Generations 2, Star Trek 4.
I think at one point they were thinking Resurrection,
They
but then
were.
Alien Resurrection was gonna come out.
Yeah, that's true. And before that, Star Trek Renaissance.
Oh,
Starring Leonardo da Vinci.
Ugh.
Fucking God.
Oh god.
All right, Jake is out.
And enjoy it because you don't have long left.
I know. I got 3 left. 3 to go. Gotta make them count. All right. Well, yeah, that's all we have to say about that. So next week you can tune in to our program and listen to us again. And until then, you can find us on Star Trek Next Generation Facebook /Star to Steer Her By. You can also find us on Twitter and Tumblr at Star to Steer Her By, SSHB podcast.com/internet. And then go to SoundCloud and Google, as well as other Apple places. We are not currently available at Sam Goody, Strawberries, Tower Records, FYE, Record Town, or
Best Buy.
Best Buy, sure. Circuit City, Tweeter, etc. I don't know. Leechmere. That was a local thing.
Bradley's.
Oh God, Bradley's. But yeah, we're not available on physical format, so unfortunately at this time you are going to have to download our podcast from the internet at one of the aforementioned outlets. But on the plus side, we're also free to download if you have the internet. And if you don't have the internet, I recommend it. Very cool. Very cool.
If you don't,
lots of
up and
porn.
coming, I hear.
Lot of porn. Lot of porn.
Not enough Data Borg Queen porn.
A lot of fake 7 of 9 porn.
Oh, no.
So we have that going for us.
I remember there was an episode you were looking for Data Yar.
Yeah.
I found you some. Okay, I'll show you later.
Oh, I don't need it. That was for you guys. If you have it, you keep that close.
But yeah. Next time it's Star Trek 3, Return to the Insurrection.
God, I wish it was Star Trek 3.
It's Star Trek The Next Generation, Star Trek Generations 3.
Jesus cows. Come on.
Journey's
Whoa.
End Part 2.
This is like Caitlin's intro. Come on here, Jim.
Well,
Insurrection.
I can't even argue with that. When she's right, she's right.
Yeah. All right. Well, anyway, until next time, my name has been Jake.
This has been Chris.
This has been Ames.
And this is always Caitlin.
Commence pre-ignition sequence.
Yes.